looking forward to this week ahead of us. We've got some outstanding challenges here facing us, and obviously it begins with Syracuse tomorrow night. I think everybody that has watched them play and knows them really believes they're Final Four good, and I think they are. They return the bulk of the team. Had a terrific transfer. Obviously went to the Sweet 16 last year. Have a Hall of Fame coach who I have tremendous respect for, and Coach Boeheim, and a defense that is, every year in and year out, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 years in the last 10 to 15, top 20 in the country. So really gifted group, especially now that they're fully healthy with Howard being back. So great challenges ahead of us. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are recognizing Coach Matta and his family and their incredible contributions to this university and obviously the basketball program. So that should be hopefully a really rewarding night for him and his family as they get a chance to come back.
Following on that, why decide to do that right now for this game and is relatively soon?
Well, we asked him it was his choice. The game was his choice. Gene had mentioned it a while back, really, about wanting to bring Thad and his family back. And we had talked a little bit about it last year. But I think that the timing was better this year, and we just, I can understand. I think Thad wanted his family here, and he wanted his daughters here, and I think one of his daughters is attending a trip maybe next semester. So we said, hey, whatever game you want, we'll make it work. So. He chose a game in which we're going to see 40 minutes of zone. So.
Some coaches might not be thrilled to have the guy that they replaced come back around so soon. Were you excited about this? Was there any trepidation on your part? Because I could see it being an awkward situation if it's not handled the right way.
Yeah, none whatsoever. Thad and his family, and I include his family because I think all of us, who know coaches know that your wife and your kids go through the joys, the highs, and the lows as much as you do. And they're deserving of being recognized as well. Barb's tremendous and has been outstanding to Lori, my wife. And we don't know. It's not like Thad and I talk every week, but we've always been friends, casual friends. And I think he's incredibly deserving of all of the goodwill that comes his way. And I was really excited that Gene spearheaded this idea. And I think Buckeye Nation, the reception they gave him in the summer was tremendous. And I'm sure and I hope that he's going to, and his family are going to feel that kind of reception and some, because he's deserving. And he did an extraordinary job for his tenure here. And did it the right way. And I'm sure he'd be the first one to, as we all are, to admit that his players and his coaching staff deserve great credit as well. And I hope that his players and coaching staff take a moment to enjoy tomorrow night as well, because they're deserving.
Coach, I know Syracuse lost a couple games last week at Madison Square Garden, but I think the memory everyone has of them is beating Michigan State in the tournament last year.
Yeah.
And you guys played Michigan State. You know how good Michigan State is.
Yeah.
You can have a great team, but if you're not making shots, they can make you look really bad. Just in your mind going against the zone, just the overall, and your thought of that game, if you recall it, just what they're able to do to teams like that.
Well, I don't throw this lightly, but I do think Coach Boeheim is – he's a defensive wizard. He's a genius in some of his concepts, the adjustments they make. I don't throw that around lightly. It is phenomenal what they do. So you're exactly right. They make it. It's like going to the dentist, and not just for a cleaning. It is 40 minutes of that kind of, and you got to be able to endure that. You got to be able to weather that, because if you think you're going into a game and it's going to be a pretty game, and you're going to get your rhythm threes and time and space and be able to wind up, then you're not ready for what's coming. And that's why I think his teams have been so hard to beat, particularly late in the year. They're tremendously talented. Again, Hall of Fame coach, and I think they're going to make a very deep run this year. I really do.
Are you a little bit concerned about three-point shooting, and how important is that over the top of their zone? I think you only made 3 in the Samford game, and the numbers didn't look very good in the last game until Joey Lane and Arns and maybe somebody else threw one in at the end and made it appear your normal player, your regular players, did not shoot the three-pointer very well.
CJ made 3, I think, in that game. So that was good to see him. We've got multiple guys that can make threes. I do think you got to make some against them. You got to move it. You need to be ready to shoot and ready to attack. And there's no question that's an element of attacking them that we need to be good at.
The players is their length. They go from 6'6" to 7'2"
Yeah.
if their center plays long arms. What makes that defense special with regard to how tall and athletic they are?
Their activity. Yeah, their activity. I mean, they're tied together in their zone really well, really well, and their activity, and they're smart in their attack. They're really smart in their defensive attack, and you can't just see that if you observe it. A game or two, really studying, you see that they're smart in their attack and their adjustments.
And their point guard, really, he didn't play at all the first 4 games. A lot of people are tearing him down because of their offense. What about Howard? You've got very little film on him this year, but last year you did. What does he do for them?
Tremendous. He steadies them, gets other guys involved. They obviously missed him when he was out. So he's such a significant part of what they do. And they have, I think, 4 double-figure scores right now when you include him. He's kind of steadies them. He gets other guys involved. He's like the other guys. He's great at creating his own shot as well.
I forgot that the rebounding too. They got like 4 or 5 guys who are averaging 5 a game.
Yeah.
And you want your team to rebound better.
Yeah. No, it's a concern for us. I think. People asked me about all kinds of numbers yesterday with this new, whatever it is, ranking. The only numbers I'm concerned about are we're 136 in turnover percentage and 150, I think, 4 in defensive rebounding percentage. Like, those numbers are the only numbers I'm concerned about. Those aren't very good right now, and they're symptomatic of a team that is just. That's going to get us beat if we don't do everything we can. It's not like we've got incredible size or length, but we have to do a better job in those areas, and I got to do a better job coaching them.
I was going to ask you if you have any trouble massaging the ego of the number 1 team in the country, but I guess not.
No, I mean, I think this group is level-headed enough to recognize that's not the case, and that. The sample size and all of that, I think they're level-headed enough to recognize that is what it is.
Last year you had expressed a lot of concern about playing teams that had big guards, and obviously Syracuse has big guards. How do you feel personnel-wise this year going up against size at that position?
I don't know. I'm interested to see, because they have big attacking guards, really 1 through 4. That's really, I mean, they're really 4 guards. And they're big attacking guards. We'll have to see if kind of Luther's versatility helps us in that area a little bit. We haven't faced a team like this that has this kind of size collectively and this kind of size on the perimeter.
And do Keyshawn anymore leading up to this because he has experience playing against it?
We'll rely on Keyshawn more because I think he's got a good idea of how to attack zones in general, and a pretty good feel for that. So less that he has experience play. I mean, that'd play in maybe a little bit, but it's more that I think he has a good feel for attacking zones. So I would expect his minutes to be significant.
What does Caleb need to do against the zone to be effective?
Kind of be who he is. He's really good when you can put him in different spots. They do a great job of keeping the ball out of the low post and the high post, but they do a good job of not letting, like they did not let Nick Ward really impact the game last year against Michigan State. So we'll have to do a good job finding him. He's going to have to make some traffic plays. And then he's going to also have to kick it out when they collapse. He's going to have to be a good passer. But we'll try to move him around in different spots.
And I'm not sure of how the back end of the Big Ten ACC Challenge works, but how did you find out that Syracuse was your opponent, and what was your reaction?
We found out, late summer, maybe, Dan? Does that sound right? They tell us, I think, right before they release it. Big Ten tells us. So that's how we found out. And, we have a guy on our staff, Mike Nettie, who graduated from Syracuse and spent some time kind of as a student assistant, spent some time around the program. So, we talked to him a little bit about that. But, I think we all know that Syracuse is a terrific program, and Coach Boeheim is just long time been an admirer of him. So it's great to have a program of that quality come in here. I think that was our first thought.
How do you expect the atmosphere to be tomorrow night, considering it's student night?
I would expect that it is great and that they're good. They add a real energy. The students add a tremendous energy to our games, and I miss them when they're not there. I really do. I think our team misses them when they're not there, and we just can't wait to have them back.
Going along with the shooting, obviously zones kind of force teams into shooting three-point shots. Is there a balance you want your guys to have of, obviously if it's open and it's a great shot, take it, but not forcing it just because that's what's available?
Yeah, because they do a great job of challenging threes now. It's one of the things they've always done is you don't get clean looks against them, or occasionally, but not much. You get a lot of rushed looks at them. And so you got to be ready, and you got to stay ready to shoot it. You got to stay aggressive. We'll definitely shoot some. We'll try to shoot good ones. And the ones that are there, I'm sure we'll shoot a challenge one or two because that happens. But you got to stay ready to attack.
Mention this is different than what you guys have seen, and you've played against a little zone.
Yeah.
What makes Syracuse's zone unique?
Length, activity, the fact that it's their base defense. Most teams you face, it's their secondary defense, or it may be their primary defense, but they haven't been trained in it the level that Syracuse is. So all the things that teams try to run to attack zones, if you play it 10 to 15 possessions a game, you can get some teams on that. You're playing a Syracuse team, they've seen it all. They've seen every way that you can possibly attack a zone, and certainly Coach Boeheim has, so they adjust really quickly to any type of scheme that you're using to attack it.
So given the success that Syracuse has with it, why don't you think more teams commit to that? I mean, obviously it would take some time, but,
It's a good question. I don't know. It's a good question. I think Thad played it one full year here. But it's a good question. Man-to-man's always kind of been this, hey, we're gonna play man-to-man, that's who we are, and, we're gonna be tough, and, we're not gonna deviate from that. But I think obviously Coach Boeheim's coaching disciples, that's their base way of playing it. Washington plays it. Eastern Michigan plays it. And they're big believers in, and it's really helped those programs. So That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Chris, do you know Boeheim very well? I know all coaches kind of know each other, but I don't know how familiar you guys might be with each other.
Not really. He's one of the, I don't want to say few guys, but he's one of the guys that just our paths haven't crossed a whole lot. I've run into him maybe a time or two. I think I ran into him at the Peach Jam maybe a year or two ago. But we haven't had many conversations. But, he's another coach that I, studied on tape 15 years ago. He became head coach at Syracuse when I was 5. Now, if that doesn't speak to the quality and the excellence of you just don't see that much anymore. Is a guy that's been he's a head coach when I was 5. He was named at Syracuse, so it's incredible tenure.
Had you gotten any more feedback in the last few days about how well the St. John Arena game went?
I got a few emails. I'm sure Gene probably got a lot of good ones and maybe a few bad ones. Hey, the bathrooms were this and concessions were that, and it was too hot in there. And I'm sure probably that's what Gene hears. But I think, by and large, I thought it was a fantastic night, and having it before the game, contributed to that. But I thought it was a great environment and a tremendous night. And we'll evaluate where to go from here when it comes to St. John.
Is there some idea of that being the tradition? Have it the Friday when the game is at home?
Yes.
Have a game lead right into that Friday night? Yes.
We have had those discussions. Yes. So every 2 years, kind of making that Friday night, we have absolutely had those discussions.
Was there any talk about getting the football team involved, sort of like classic pep rally style, like for a media timeout or a halftime, give them the mic for a second?
No, you're probably asking the wrong guy some of those questions, but it's good. It's a good idea, but I think it's a good idea. Our marketing staff and some of our basketball operations staff would probably take a look at that. Yeah.
Coach, your bench production has been really good through the first 6 games. How important is that to continue, particularly given Syracuse's defensive challenges?
Yeah, I think we just need to continue to grow our bench and get more out of our bench. Obviously, it got a little bit shortened here with Michael leaving, but we just need to. It's been really good and really productive for us, and in moments has been really the difference for us. And we have to continue to get good stuff out of our bench, and I'm confident we will.
Was practice any different this week? Like, say, a football team preparing for an option team as opposed to your typical regular offense. You guys are playing a zone that you guys are going to see maybe once or twice a year at most. Was this week any different as far as practice goes?
It is. Yeah, I think it is a little bit different. It has to be just because of how unique this is. Now, Samford did zone us, much different look because of the length of Syracuse versus Samford. But, we knew they'd zone us some. We didn't know they'd zone us the entire game. But I think this game, as much as anything, you can't forget who you are as a program either and what we have to be about. So we need to focus on the zone and how we're attacking it. We also can't forget about kind of what has helped our team win possessions early in the year. That needs to stay at the forefront of our mind as well. But it has been different, yeah.
Do you think the Samford game, as far as them playing zone, do you think that's given you sufficient preparation for Syracuse?
Well, we'll see tomorrow night. Yeah, we'll see tomorrow night. I think it helped us. I do think it definitely helped us just to have to be able to talk through some areas that we struggled in and kind of have that film to go off of. I definitely think that that was good preparation for us. But again, such a different zone.
Can I just ask you a couple of recruiting things real quick?
Sure.
Not to go into a deep tangent, but you had a guy leave. Are you starting to think about a grad transfer perhaps for next year? And are you starting to put together a small list of people to kind of scout out in that realm or anything like that?
Yeah, we're always I think you always have to be active in that market nowadays to some degree. It doesn't mean every year we're going to add one, but I think you always have to have an awareness of that, because if not, you're just I mean, that has obviously been really effective for us and effective for a lot of programs. It's got to be the right fit, though. So we have an awareness. That doesn't mean we're going to add one. We're not sure at this point if we would or not. Okay. Thanks, guys.